Mr.
All right, man. So your presentation's here, right?
Yep.
You want that to switch slides?
Sure.
Okay.
Which one's the next button? I'm guessing the right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. We're good.
All right. I'm gonna take one of these with me. You gonna just speak here at the podium?
Yep.
All right.
Just podium.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good luck, Walker.
Thank you.
All right. Please find your seats. Quiet down. We're ready for our next presentation here. The impact movies have on society. Please welcome Walker Jenkins.
Do you want this sign? Okay. So I didn't know I was going to be following that, so if you guys think it's going to be as cool, hopefully I can live up to the hype. Before we get started, I would like to ask, did anyone lose a roll of $100 bills wrapped in a rubber band? Because I found the rubber band. You're not getting the money back. You can get the rubber band, though. Yeah. All right. So you're probably asking, why am I here other than Mr. Eaton already gave the title of my presentation? Well, one, it's a requirement, and two, I just happen to love movies. Movies, to me, are my bread and butter. I think, breathe, and talk movies. My brother and I, we quote movies. Some would say too much. A lot of people would say too much. And in fact, I want to go into directing. I'm going to film school to become a director. But another personal reason why I love movies is because it brought me closer to my dad. Years ago, my dad and I, every Friday night, we would watch one or two movies, just a night, just to have fun and just hang out, eat pizza and stuff like that. And it just brought me and my dad closer than what we were before. And I want to do that for other people. I want to be the reason why you have either a better relationship or just inspire someone to do what they can. So, what do movies do? Well, they do a few things. They teach us, inspire us, make us reflect, create jobs, grow the economy, and convey a message. Now, I just listed a lot of these, and you're probably saying, well, how do they do all these things? Well, they do it in multiple different ways. They teach us by teaching us simple life values or life lessons. They inspire us through hardships. They make us feel with the characters that we're watching with. They transport us, and they make us feel those hardships. They make us reflect on how we view certain topics. One movie that comes to mind is Philadelphia. It made people reflect on their views of the people in the LGBTQ community and AIDS. During that time when it was made, AIDS was seen as a virus that, like, if you got around a person, part of this community, you would get it. And that changed the public appearance, showing that these are people too. They create jobs. They create jobs by, well, you have the low ticket man all the way to the highest paid director, Steven Spielberg. They create all these networks for talented people to create a story that they want people to see. A lot of the times you don't see it, but there's many people behind the scenes. There's sound men, there's set builders, painters, electricians, and like I said, the low ticket man, he even gets paid by these guys. They grow the economy. Movies make millions upon billions of dollars a year just by big blockbusters such as Avatar, Titanic, Avengers. So they bring in a lot of money for the economy. And to my last point, they convey a message. Well, whether this message is positive or negative, that is up to you. Movies can convey a positive message such as growth, but they can also convey a negative message. Many movies can be used as propaganda. One movie that comes to mind, and a lot of people are going to be surprised by this, movie Transformers from 2007. It had a lot of funding by the DoD and was a Department of Defense, for those of you who don't know. It had a lot of support from the DoD to make our military look good. Another movie that did that was Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and all the other Indiana Jones movies. There we go. Okay. Now, these are only some of the movies that have had an impact. Now, whether you agree with me, that is a good point. Movies are an art. They can be perceived by multiple different people with a different viewpoint on it. But these are just some of the statistics I have found that came to be true. So the movie Bambi came out in 1942, was a big deciding factor in people not hunting. It reduced hunting for quote-unquote cute animals, as blog.gov called it. It called them charismatic fauna. And this anthropomorphization of animals made people less likely to hunt because they thought animals like Bambi had emotions. It created what's known as the Bambi effect, which is the overprotection of animals that are seen as cute, such as pandas, deer, and tigers. But while this is a good thing for protecting these species, it can lead to more harm than good. Overprotection of these species can lead to the ecosystem imbalance, to the point where while these animals are getting so much attention, all these other animals are going to not have the attention, also get trampled on because of the overpopulation of these deer. Now, from reducing hunting to increased hunting is Jaws. Now, this is one of Steven Spielberg's greatest movies, and he even regrets the effect Jaws had, saying to the Washington Post, "I still fear that sharks are somehow mad at me for the feeding frenzy I brought upon them." This movie increased shark hunting and it increased the hatred towards sharks. I guarantee you a person in this room has seen a movie like Jaws or any other shark movie and said, "I don't like sharks, they're mean." And they kill a lot of people. That's actually not true. A study done by the Florida Museum in 2020 found that only 11 people were killed by shark attacks worldwide. That's a pretty low number than what all the movies teach us. In fact, 96% of shark movies perceive the sharks as villains. Ever since the movie came out, there's been a 71% decline in shark populations. So much so that some of the shark populations are starting to become extinct because of it. Now, off to something that's not animal-based is Top Gun. Now, I'm sure all of us have seen Top Gun, or have heard of it at least. Now, Top Gun, there has been many statistics thrown out that it increased recruiting, which it did, but some of the statistics that have been thrown out is that it increased recruiting by 500%. That is not true, found by the Australian Associated Press. Actually, it increased recruiting by 8%. While now this is a good thing, and even Captain Michael Brown of the military said, "We heard a lot fewer no's while recruiting because of this movie." But it created a negative effect called the Top Gun effect. Now, it's quite a catchy name and quite original, if you ask me. The Top Gun effect allows people to believe that if they enlist into the military, they'll be like Maverick from Top Gun. They'll be able to disobey the rules. They'll be able to be insubordinate to their superiors without any consequence. And a lot of higher-ups said this is not true, and we are actually very mad at Top Gun for making people believe this. Another movie, now you probably saw this one, and you're probably saying, "Really? Fast and Furious, those really, really ramped up movies?" Yeah. The original one had an effect. That was actually the good one. Yeah. So the first Fast and Furious movie, after it was released, the LAPD saw a spike in the street racing. For a lot of you who don't know, actually, because of their shortage of street background extras and cars, they actually went out to the streets and got real street racers to fill in the gaps. So that brought a lot of popularity not only to the street racing, just from the movie itself, but to those street racers that have already been on the streets. The LAPD said it's not uncommon for movies such as this, such as Fast and Furious, to lead to spikes in delinquency. The LAPD charged over 200 people with crimes relating to street racing, and they also seized 6 cars. Now, I've been talking about the effects that these have. Now, you may or may not agree with these, but these are just some that I found. But that's the beauty of movies. Movies are an art. They're one of the most popular art forms, as one of my professional contacts, Mr. Shea, our local professional filmmaker, has said. Everyone can get something different from them. So if you don't agree with me, that's fine. But somewhere these have affected somebody. Not you, but could have. Now, on from a less moral way of thinking, where it's going to economics. Movies contribute 3.2% of the economy, the GDP. Now, movies also, this is also all done by a study by the MPA, the Movie Picture Association. That little oval that you see at the end of the credits, you always wondered what it was, just a, ooh, that's a cool film reel? No, that's the guys that actually protect and help the movies on site and other locations. Movies employ over 2.4 million people in the country alone. That's from the low ticket man to the highest paid director, like I said earlier. It pays out over $186 billion in wages to these people, and pays, when they're on location, pays out $21 million into local economies, whether that be through catering, on-site electricians or carpenters. They pay into this. Movies like Black Panther, also given to me by the MPA, movies like Black Panther had over 2,000 individual companies helping them while they were filming. Movies also bring in a spike of tourism when they're on site. Movies such as Braveheart and Harry Potter brought in 300% and 50% increase in their areas alone. This was just because they wanted to go to the famous locations that they were filmed at. Now, this also brings a negative effect too, because a lot of people think that they can act how they acted in movies. And some find this okay in some places, but other places, such as Italy and one of the fountains, I cannot remember the name, sadly, they crawl into it and dance around like in certain movies that have been seen. And this is not allowed. There actually have been multiple fines issued to people because of this. Now, what's the takeaway of this? Now, that's a good question. I thought of that a lot. The takeaway of this presentation is that whether you know it or not, movies have an impact on you somehow. I'm sure all of us have a favorite movie or a movie that we can watch once or twice over and remember everything about it and still get joy from it. I know I do. And I just wanted to look how this little thing in our lives that we just see as something to turn our brains off and relax to have a bigger impact and bigger importance than we actually know. And they do. And going back to what I said, it is a great art form. It's one of the most popular forms of art. And an Indian director of the name Nagesh Kankor, I apologize if I'm butchering the name, he said that movies are the greatest form of entertainment for the sole reason that they don't allow the viewer to get skewed of the message that they're trying to convey. The director gives the message that they want. They show the viewer what they want, unlike books, paintings, and poetry. It's left to your interpretation. With movies, it's not like that. It is shown what they want, but you can be left with the message or not. And questions?
What are your top 3 favorite movies?
My top 3 favorites. So one is Forrest Gump. I can go back to that movie all the time and still get a chuckle and actually enjoy it. Another one is a childhood favorite of mine. It's Fox and the Hound. I remember specifically sitting at my grandparents' house with a VHS and watching it until it got to the static and rewinding it and going all the way back to the front. And probably my third would be, that's a good question. Probably my third would be Cars. I annoyed the crap out of my siblings. Exactly. I annoyed the ever-living, crap out of my family when I was a little kid, and they still haven't let me live that down. No. Thank you, Blake.
Do you have any societal commentary you'd want to make as a film director, like any specific messages you want to convey?
Could you elaborate more on that question?
Any specific issues you'd want to address in your films, kind of like the LGBTQ one you mentioned?
As of right now, I don't have any concrete messages that I want to convey. I've had thoughts and ideas. As of right now, I just want to get my foot into the door into the industry. But messages that I'd like to convey is just making like family movies that some can bring someone together, like mine did, or inspirational movies such as Rocky and them. They've just been really great movies that have inspired me to just go and do something that I want to do.
What movie do you think has had like the most impact on you personally?
One of them is Forrest Gump. It taught me that no matter where you come from or how many people tell you no, you can still do it. You can still achieve greatness. Another one is Rocky. It's same message. Those are my two favorite movies that inspire me.
I know your topic is about the impact on movies, but you mentioned the economic part, and I know a couple of people that are afraid to study or follow a career in film because they are afraid of their economic situation after it. What can you say about that part?
Could you repeat that? I didn't hear. My hearing's not best.
Like you mentioned about how film creates job opportunities for people, but I think the social idea is that pursuing a career in arts in general cannot provide as much as income as another career. In that aspect, if you can talk about it, what would you say?
Well, I think if you're going to pursue movies, you gotta kind of have the knowledge that you either will make it in or you won't, and that's the first hurdle you got to get over. So if you make it in, you also have to realize at the beginning you're not going to get paid a lot because they don't get paid a lot all the time unless you're working for a big company such as Warner Bros. Or Universal. I just think going into this, you have to know that it's all next stage to get to the next stage to get to the next stage, and it's all building up and just not letting anyone just push you down. Yep.
Okay, so do you have a backup plan? Because you said if you make it or if you don't make it. So do you have a backup plan essentially?
That's a good question. I do have a backup plan. I don't like to think about my backup plan as much. Luckily I have a nice brother and father that own a painting company, so I kind of have that safety net. But I don't like to think about that much. I like to push forward through my goal, and hopefully with going to film school, this will help. Will be a nice door to get into film.
Okay. I was just wondering if in your research, if you came across any of how it might affect families to watch movies together, and how that could be one of the impacts that movies make. Because I know that growing up myself, my mom and I watch old movies all the time, and that has made a really big impact on me, and it's become something that I can share with her.
Could you repeat that one more time? It's just a little.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Don't be sorry.
Like, if while you were researching, if you came across anything on how movies could have an impact from the perspective of like bringing families together.
I didn't. That's actually a really good thing to look into. I can and get back to you if you'd like. I know from personal experience, from my personal experience, and some that I've talked to my friends and family about it. But that is a great question that I did not look into.
Who's your favorite director?
My favorite director? Well, I have multiple, but like my top three are Quentin Tarantino, James Gunn. He's the director of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and George Lucas, because he made one of my favorite film franchises, Star Wars. So I gotta credit him.
All right, one more round of applause for Walker.
And, yeah.
We're so close to being done. Okay, 2 more.